We're going to be working with the shapes in this video, and so I'm going to rip that panel off again. So the shapes panel is under our T in our toolbox, and if I hold the cursor down, I'm not going to let go until I put the cursor over the right hand corner where that black bar is. Now I have all of the shapes that are available to me. When we're drawing, a lot of things start with a shape. We know that we can alter the shape. We don't have a triangle on here, but I showed you in a previous video, if we draw the square, we can take our direct select tool and we can push one of those corners in, and now we have our triangle. So in this video, I'm going to show you more shortcuts that are going to help you do your drawings faster. You do need to start creating a shortcut list for yourself. Either write them down as we're going through them in the video. We've already been through V will get you to the direct select tool, Control plus, Control minus to zoom in and out. I'm going to be using these throughout my video really quick. So you have to start using them so that when I say, hey, zoom in, you know what to do. I'm not always going to tell you to do Control plus. There are cheat sheets out there, but they're going to have too many options on it. I would just start creating your own list so that just the main ones that we're going to be using throughout the course, you'll have a quick list for them. Okay, shape tools. We grab the shape tool. I have nothing selected in my layers panel because I have nothing drawn. If I just click and start dragging, you can see I can drag down. I'm a person that clicks and drags down. Maybe you're left-handed and you click and drag the other way. When you just click and drag, it sets the registration point for where the drawing is going to happen. Depending on where you drag, it's going to obviously change. So it is giving us a little bit help. It's telling us what the width is going to be in pixels, what the height is going to be in pixels. So I have an idea as to what I'm drawing here. And as soon as I let go, I have my shape. So that's one way of drawing, by just clicking and dragging. And if you know the exact shape that you need, you can just click and let go of the mouse. If I know I need a square 100 by 100, I'm just going to click. It's going to say, hey, what's the width? What's the height? You don't have to put in the pixels. It'll default to that because that's the measurement that we're on. I click OK. I have exactly 100 by 100 on this. Heck of a lot easier than trying to draw 100 by 100. My mouse just never will get it exactly. Ooh, I did. But anyways, some other shortcut keys, if you want a complete square, because we know as we're dragging it's going to either make a rectangle or a square. It's going to do whatever you tell it to do. If you hold down the Shift key, it will draw a complete square. It doesn't matter which way you pull it, but it will be a complete square. So the width and the height will always have the same dimensions. So Shift key. At any time you can hold down the space bar and you can move the stage around or your artboard around so that you can see something better. And again, you can do your Alt or Control plus and minus to zoom in and zoom out. So those always work. Okay, a few other shortcuts that always apply to shapes is you can hold down the Alt key and you'll see my cursor changes automatically when I hit the Alt key. Holding down the Alt key, the registration point is the center. So it starts drawing from the center out. I'm going to go V to get back to my selection tool, and I'm going to click off so nothing is selected over here. I'm going to change my color to something drastic. Ooh, it's really boring. Okay. So if I hold down my Alt key again, I can start drawing from the center of, whoops, I'm on my selection tool. Boy, this is going to catch you up the first few weeks in here, is constantly looking at what tool am I on and what do I have selected in my layers panel. So I need to be back on my, and you can click on it in either spot, it doesn't really matter. So now if I hold down my Alt, it kind of lets me know where these two are going to intersect, and I can draw a square inside of this one. Okay, so the square is the same color because my colors didn't hit, so I can change the color now. Okay, We can, and I'm going to click off the stage, have nothing selected. I'm going to go back to my rectangle tool. We can also draw from the center and draw a complete square. And the way we do that is just by holding the Shift and the Alt key down at the same time. Shift and Alt key at the same time. There's one more key that could help you out. Shift and Alt, I can start drawing. If you need this to be in some other place, I have not let go of anything. I have both keys on the Shift and Alt pressed. I have the mouse pressed and I'm drawing this. If you go ahead and you reach the space bar, you can completely move this on your canvas. I'm letting go of the space bar. When I get it to an area that I want, I can still resize it. What you want to do now though is you have to let go of your mouse button first. The mouse button first. If you do not, it's not going to keep the constraints on this. It's not going to keep the length and width to be exactly the correct size. So once again, I'll go over that one more time. It's just holding the Shift and the Alt. You start drawing. Hit the space bar with your thumb. You gotta have kind of big hands to do this. You can move this anywhere and then let go with the mouse key first. If you don't, it'll cause some issues. So this works on pretty much all of the shape tools that we have. The next one we have, the rounded rectangle tool. All it does is have rounded corners. So when I use this tool, I'm going to click once. It's going to have another option. We can actually change the radius that we have here. Now this is if I click and I know I want this really rounded, I'm going to go to 25. This also is the option that's over here and it hardly shows you, but if you hover on it, it says corner radius. So I'm going to click off and not have anything selected. I'm going to grab my rounded rectangle tool. And you can go ahead and start drawing, and then if you decide you want to change that, you can make that selection after. I'm going to go to 50 and make it really drastic. So you can draw it and then change it as well. You don't have to click and know all of those dimensions. I'm going to clean up my canvas here. I got too much going on and I want to draw some more. I'm just going to highlight over it with my black arrow tool, which selects almost everything, and I can tell over here everything is blue to the right, so it has them all selected. I'm going to hit the delete on my keyboard and that will delete them. Okay, so some of the other ones we have up here, this is if we want a circle, then we're going to go to our ellipse tool. Again, if we want a complete circle, we're going to hold down the Shift key and draw. If we want to draw from the center, we're going to hold down the Alt key and you can draw from the center. You can hold the Shift key if you want to constrain it. You can hold, with all those still held down, I can hold down the space bar key and just a moment. Okay, so none of those options have changed for that. The next two tools do have a few more options. The polygon tool and the star tool, these have more sides. So the basics as you draw them are there. I'm just going to let that one go. I'm going to click on this one and you can imagine we can probably define the sides as we're drawing it, and you can. The radius is just how big it's going to be. So I have more sides. The other thing you can do with this tool is you can click and start drawing. You can use the up and down arrow keys to change the sides that you have on this as you're drawing it. And then when I let go, that's the shape I have. And it's pretty much the same with the star. I'm going to clear what I have out here. So with the star tool, if I click, it's going to ask me really how many points do you want. So the default is 5. If I draw, there's going to be 5. Again, as you're drawing, you can use the up and down arrow keys to add stars to this. The other thing that the star, you can see that the points on this one are pretty short. If you want longer points, I'm going to click so you can see all your options on here. So basically you have two radiuses when it comes to stars. You have the first radius, which is 82 pixels. That's this outside circle. And the second radius is the 42 pixels. That's your inside circle that you have going on here. And then of course 8 is the points. So if I want longer points, if I want this to look more like the sun, I'm going to decrease the size of the inside radius. I'm going to go to 20 and I'm going to click OK. And now you can see that I have, it looks more like a sun or whatever we would have for that. Okay, so this one involves, like I said, clicking and then changing those radiuses to be more relevant to whatever you're drawing on there. So you can go really small and have it really pointy. There we go. Or you can make it larger and then it'll look something more like a regular star. So those are the basics of the shape tool, and you can play around with the flare tool. I'm not gonna show you what the flare tool does. That's beyond what we need for web development. For the minimalistic style that is now the current style, this has got too much going on for it. So anyways, that's shapes.